Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the multidimensional MD. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I am going to be discussing seasonal affective disorder and winter blues because as always, I want to bring the intuitive aspects of health back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access deeper healing. And because we are in winter and next week is the winter equinox, the days are much shorter. And especially if you live in northern hemispheres or farther away from the equator, then a seasonal affective disorder or winter blues are something that can be quite common. We know from just statistics that about 5% of people in the United States experience some kind of seasonal affective disorder, and that can last about 40% of the year. So that's about 5 months. So this is pretty significant. And many more people than that, about 10 to 20% of people, will experience some kind of winter blues. So what is seasonal affect disorder? And what are the signs and symptoms? What causes it? What can we do to help with it? I'm going to go through all those different things. I'm going to go through the physiology behind it, as well as some light therapy, foods, herbs, and supplements, and some other therapies that you can use to address it. So if you or any family members have experienced this, then definitely watch through the video and we'll put the timestamps through it so you can find the information that you're looking for. So there are some people that are more at risk for seasonal affective disorder, young adults and adults in general under the age of 50, women. If you've had or are currently experiencing depression or bipolar disorder, or if you have a family history of bipolar or depression or any seasonal affective disorder, and if you have any shift work that limits your sunlight exposure, and if you live in one of the um, latitudes that's farther away from the equator. So, the signs and symptoms of seasonal affective disorder include the symptoms of any kind of depression. So, feeling really down or irritable or pessimistic and hopeless, maybe just really frustrated and restless. So, you might have feelings of guilt or helplessness, worthlessness. You might not have the same interest in regular hobbies or activities that you used to enjoy. You could have low energy or fatigue or just not really want to get out of bed. You could have difficulty concentrating or making decisions, have memory issues, and you can have changes in your appetite or sleep. You can also have physical symptoms of aches or pains, headaches, cramps, or digestive problems that aren't explained otherwise physically by any obvious physical causes. And if there's more serious signs and symptoms of depression, then of course you could have some thoughts of death or suicide ideation. In the winter pattern for seasonal affective disorder, then the typical symptoms that go along with that again, the feeling down, oversleeping, so what they call hypersomnia, overeating, particularly with a craving for carbohydrates, which can lead to weight gain, and this feeling of wanting to hibernate or withdraw from regular social activities that were enjoyable before. And the NIH, they sometimes differentiate winter blues from the seasonal affective disorder by saying that winter blues are more related to the stress of the season and the scheduling, versus seasonal affective disorder is related more to the amount of daylight hours. But I feel like there is a lot of overlap, and because people who are already feeling down are more at risk for seasonal affective disorder, it's just everything in life coming at you and feeling more overwhelming. So if you are feeling overwhelmed with the schedule or the holiday activities, then and the daylight is shorter, then you could be more at risk for feeling that the signs and symptoms of seasonal affective disorder. And if it's become more predictable, like year by year, you notice for the last couple years that you are having more of these symptoms and they recur on a seasonal basis, then it's a tendency for you and to be more proactive. So if we go through the physiology behind seasonal affective disorder, Then we know that there is less sun exposure in the latitudes farther from the equator. So, like the northern, like New England, where I used to live, you can also have decreased melatonin, so and decrease serotonin and decrease vitamin D. So these all come into play. So serotonin is important for mood and mood balance, and we need adequate sunlight needed for proper serotonin function. And decreased vitamin D, which is vitamin D is a sunlight vitamin, which can also exacerbate the serotonin problem. Vitamin D is also functions as a hormone, and it can also it has so many different functions in related to, relation to the rest of your endocrine system. So just vitamin D deficiency alone can increase your risk for feeling down during the winter months. And I remember when I lived in New England, some years I would recognize this pattern that I would have like during the winter months. And winter there is much longer. So having grown up in more southern climates, then it was a little bit different for me to get used to. So um, so we're going to talk about like ways to increase your serotonin levels and balance your melatonin. And I think that I misspoke before, so I said decrease melatonin, but actually have increased melatonin because you're feeling like really fatigued, and decreased vitamin D. So it's increased melatonin, decreased serotonin, decreased vitamin D. And this is all from decreased sun exposure. So the different therapies that are available include light therapy. So you can get this easily on your own through morning walks and that morning sunshine. So before 10 a.m., there are more far infrared rays, and this is a beneficial wavelength for humans. And that sunlight also boosts, again, your vitamin D levels and your serotonin levels. Now, if you can't get out in the sunlight, then some therapists and counselors and psychiatrists will recommend using a light box. So this is about 10,000 lux light box, which is 20 times brighter than ordinary indoor light. And you can use that for about 30 to 45 minutes a day, first thing in the morning. So there's some caution with light therapy for if you're using a light box because it's much brighter than usual. So if you have bipolar or any light sensitivities or eye issues, then definitely talk to your psychiatrist or physician about that before starting light therapy on your own. If you're going on a morning walk, then that's much easier. You can bundle up. But again, remember, because it's colder, then less of your skin is able to be exposed to the sunlight, but getting your eyes exposed to those early morning rays that are not harmful, like the peak waves, midday rays that are more likely to create sunburn, can be really helpful for balancing your hormone levels and vitamin D levels and neurotransmitters. Of course, if you are in need of light, you can also take a trip to sunnier climates if that's something available for you. And just talking about like light therapy and beneficial wavelengths, then you could consider using a biomat. We have one here in our waiting room for patients to use. And if you haven't used one before, then feel free to come on in and sit on it and see what it feels like for you. It has those far infrared rays, and it has a blend of amethyst and tourmaline crystals. And so when it has a current running through it, then it emits this far infrared ray that is, again, a beneficial wavelength for humans. If we look at food, herbs, and supplements that can be helpful for seasonal affective disorder and winter blues in general. So the main thing is to watch your ratios of foods. So don't overdo the carbs or processed foods. I know it's the holidays, so it can be so easy to reach into the cookie jar, but I would suggest prepping your snacks ahead of time, or at least maybe making a list of things that you can go to so you're when you're hungry, you don't just reach for the nearest sugary thing or processed food. So, what kinds of healthy snacks could you have? You could have some berries. You could have carrot sticks, yogurt, dairy-free yogurt. If you can't have dairy, you could have a slaw with cabbage and carrots. That can be really great for your digestion, has those antioxidants in it, and really nutritious with lots of minerals and B vitamins. You could have a broth prepared and just warm up a cup with some veggies with it. So increase your greens. You need those minerals for your brain and nerves to function smoothly. And you also need a good source of fats because those fats are important for every cell membrane in your body to keep them nice and fluid and to let the nerve cells communicate well because they're wrapped in this fatty layer. So if you don't have enough omega-3s in your diet, then definitely get those. And it's interesting because there was one study showing like in Iceland, they didn't have as much seasonal affective disorder. And even though they have only 4 hours of sunlight in the winter, which is very interesting. And some of the thought there was because they had such a diet high in omega 3s. And you can get omega 3s from wild salmon. You can get it from chia seeds, from hemp seeds. You can take a supplement, which can be the most efficient way if you really need to boost your levels. Getting a good source of probiotic food. So again, that yogurt that I mentioned, even a spoonful a day can help balance your gut because of over 95% of serotonin, that mood balancing neurotransmitter, is produced in your gut. So if your gut's not working properly, then your mood will be affected. You want to be cautious with chemicals or even chemicals in food, nicotine, caffeine, alcohol, and I'm going to include in there just sodium benzoate or food preservatives like artificial food preservatives and artificial colorings for some people that are more sensitive to those things. So there is research showing that avoiding nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol can be helpful for decreasing depression, especially when you combine that with a Mediterranean diet. And a Mediterranean diet is a great example of an alkaline diet. So if you haven't watched my Edgar Casey alkaline diet episode, then go ahead and watch that. Ideally, you want your diet 80% alkaline, which is a bit tricky in our modern culture. So you have to be more conscious of it. But anything you do to adjust the ratio of foods and limiting those carbs to the 20% versus the 100% that sometimes the kids are eating, yeah, that can be really helpful. So in terms of some herbs and teas, there's an Edgar Casey remedy that is called safflower, which is used as a tea. And when Edgar Casey talks about it, he talks about it for what we now call leaky gut and other gut issues, as well as skin issues. But traditionally, safflower is also used in the Middle East for anxiety and depression. There aren't many studies on safflower for that use, but there are some smallish ones showing that it has potential depressive and anti-anxiety effects. So safflower is this beautiful golden reddish flower, and when you put it in a tea, you can use anywhere from an eighth of a teaspoon to a teaspoon per a pint, and you can sip on it. So I would say to use it 1 to 3 times a day. And the color itself has some antioxidants in there. But there are other properties in the safflower. Other teas that you could use are lemon balm, which is helpful for anxiety. And this time of year with the school exams and tests, there are studies that have shown that it can help students. So there was one study that showed if you took lemon balm an hour or two before test taking, that the students tended to score better because they were more relaxed. It's also very nutritious. Milky oats are another nutritious herb. They are the young oats, so before they're harvested for oatmeal. So milky oats are used in traditional herbal remedies and as a tincture or tea. You can take that several times a day. And reportedly, you can feel the effects within a few days or even a week if you use it consistently. And we do have a vitamin T blend that has milky oats in it. And I call it vitamin T because it's so nutritious and you can literally drink your vitamins and minerals in tea form, which can be really helpful when people are having a hard time getting enough greens or replenishing their bodies with enough vitamins and minerals. You could also look at an adaptogenic herb like ashwagandha. So ashwagandha helps your adrenals out, helps your immune system and your nervous system, helps to balance it out. Because when you've been really stressed, then your adrenals often tend to be overworked, and ashwagandha can help with that. There's also St. John's wort, and that can be, some studies have shown that can be just as effective as light therapy. So just caution with St. John's wort and any other medication. So just do a med check if you're taking lots of medication, but it's traditionally used for mood issues and depression, and again can be as effective as light therapy. So those are all kinds of foods, herbs, and supplements. Those aren't the only things that you could use, but there are so many. There's so many more, but that's just to get you started. And next is exercise. So one study found that 20 minutes of exercise per day, like on a stationary bike or other kind of exercise, was just as effective as light therapy. So I noticed this for myself when I was training for the Boston Marathon as a bandit runner. I'm not like a professional runner. When I was a senior in college, I just started running in any type of weather because I needed to train. So whether I ran outside, I ran in the gym, I just bundled up for it with the appropriate gear. And I noticed that year I had such a significant difference in my mood. I just felt a lot just lighter in general, and my digestion was better. So that was an interesting thing. So if you live in the northern climate in the US or farther away from the equator, then it may be good to take up some sort of winter sport. One, you'll get outside, you'll get your sunlight, and you'll keep your body moving. The time of exercise can also be important because exercising at night can cause a delay in the melatonin release and disturbing sleep. So, you want to exercise either in the morning or the afternoon, but not right before you go to sleep. And then just a brief note on manual therapies, because just like exercise, it's important to restore the circulation, to balance nerve impulses, to detoxify with manual therapy. So that can include massage, osteopathy, including cranial osteopathy, which is what I practice, chiropractic or other hands-on therapies. And you'll know whether the therapist you're working with or the practitioner you're working with is effective because you will notice some sort of shift. And for me, I like to see some sort of shift within a few treatments. So you can gauge what you notice with whoever you're working with. And then lastly, this time of year is also balancing seed time with social time. So the winter is more yin energy. So this turning inward. It's cold, it's dark, it's damper. And so we want to respect that turning inward. So if you felt the energy of a seed, if you were just to pick any seed up in your hand and to feel it, it's like you would feel this energy moving from the periphery outside going inward. And so that's what winter represents for us. It's going inward. It's a rebirth too, because it's like a dying of the old and rebirthing into the new. Not dying like in a down way, but it's just like the leaves from the tree fall and then grow again in the spring. So the seasons help us to renew ourselves. So if we allow ourselves to go along with the rhythms of the season, then we can support that through meditation, just sitting in quiet reflection, through breath work, through journaling, through gratitude meditations or keeping a gratitude journal, especially gratitude for the ordinary things, because sometimes we can get into this mindset that we need really big things, really big happy things to happen to us for us to be happy, but it's really the little things that happen on a regular basis that help keep us more balanced in terms of our mood and have more clarity. So, being thankful for the little things in life is just as important as being thankful for the big things, if not even more so. And again, to balance that with time with family and friends. And so you can think about that time with family and friends as a part of your gratitude, like you're thankful for them having them in their lives, so you can still enjoy company with other people during this seed time. And it's those positive social interactions that are the best determinants for health and longevity. So these include these small interactions. Again, it doesn't have to be the big things, the small interactions, even at the grocery store, even people you don't even know. So a smile, a sincere thank you, giving a sincere compliment, accepting a sincere compliment, like a playful fist bump, or just smiling, joking around. So these kinds of small interactions really can contribute to our overall health and help you lift your spirits during this seed time, the winter season, when the days are shorter and the nights are longer and it's a darker time of year light wise. But we can seek out that light through what I was talking about, the morning walks, through light therapy, through the light of the nutritious food that you're eating, because all food needs light to grow. All life on earth needs some sort of light, whether generated light or light from the sun. And so that light helps us feel lighter. So in the winter, when the days are darker, then we can get that light through our food. We can get that light through our meditation, through giving gratitude. So, accessing that inner light within you so that you can express that light into the world. And that's part of the seed time and part of the rebirthing that's built into our year and our rhythms. So, I hope that's helped you in some way. And if you have any questions on that, then please leave them in the comments. Please like and subscribe. You can always follow me on Instagram at All Worlds Health, on Facebook, All Worlds Health and Pediatrics, or sign up for my e-love letters. Once a week, I send them out on Wednesdays, and that is at allworldshealth.com. So lots of love to all of you. I believe in you, so I hope that you believe in you too. And I'll see you next week on another episode of the Multidimensional MD. Take care. Bye.